yet you've taken the fracking tax out of the bill. Could you explain why you've done that?
Yeah, that's very simple. We have a lot of people who are looking at coming to Ohio, and I don't think we want to put up a get out of here sign. We have people who are looking forward to what we are going to do in a number of areas. For example, how about the pipelines that are going to be required in order for us to be economically competitive with, say, West Virginia, which is working on that now. We have a number of very important issues that need to be decided, and until those are decided, we are clearly not in a position to impose a tax or to announce that there isn't going to be a tax.
On the education plan, you're moving away from some of the governor's ideas on education as part of this proposal. Can you tell us what parts of his proposal you kind of found hard to work with and what you're moving away from?
Well, I can understand the desire to understand something in contrast to something already pending. I don't think there's very much that would be standing in contrast. Obviously, I explained to you that we shaped the indexes that are proposed by the administration to make them more linear, so less curved, and that has the effect, in part, to produce this map. So there is a differentiation there, but it isn't a major difference. It's more of a refinement or a fine-tuning. There'll be discussion around the fact that we are using a number of, I think it's $5,720 or some number like that for a starting point in the formula, whereas the administration used a more mathematical approach that didn't rely on a number like that, although if you did the math it came out to 5,000. So there's a little difference there. You'll also notice that we are using weighted costs for the additional targeting of resources to students with special needs, whether those students might be handicapped or have English as a second language, and those kinds of things. We're using weights there, whereas there were just distinct numbers in the introduced version, so there's a differentiation there. Another example of something that's different is that in the special ed funding, in addition to going to weights, we are not deducting 15% of the payments going out to the districts to put into a catastrophic fund. We chose to fund that additionally outside of that, not to use a deduction withholding money that's already targeted for students and their needs. That would be in other categories besides the catastrophic category. So those are some examples of things that are different. They're not radically different, I don't think.
What's the GRF spending under the
That's a good question. I didn't touch on that. We are spending less money in the general revenue fund and less money all funds than the administration in the proposal. In the first year in GRF, we're at $350 million lower. In the second year, it's $1.48 billion. In the all fund category, it's about $492 million less in the first year, and at the all funds level, second year, it's about almost $1.6 billion. And that's almost entirely due to the fact that we're not cycling federal borrowed money from our grandkids through our budget.
So are you looking at, so is that about 61 billion GRF as opposed to 63 billion something? Is that roughly sound right?
I didn't do the math in my head, so it might be right.
This education plan you've come up with, is this designed as a long-term thing, or is it this more of a, we're going to fix what's in front of us, and then Representative Stapleton or others are going to convene again, and we're going to try to come up with a true long-term formula?
Yeah, well, we're in the budget making process. When the EVM came out in the House Bill 1, it changed a lot during the legislative process. We think we have something pretty close to a workable, sustainable, defensible, long-term solution here. But I think people are going to want to examine it and have discussions. I can predict that as further review of it occurs, that we'll start to hear complaints. Because we aren't spending $1 billion or $2 billion more in this than what we are currently. We don't have that money. And so it will not be entirely satisfactory to those in the education community. But we feel it is a good path to recovery that we are on as a state, and we have chosen to allocate substantial additional resources to the primary and secondary and higher education communities.
Does your budget retain the governor's reduction in the sales tax rate or keep it where it is?
Good question. The proposal is as I described it, meaning that the sales tax rate is as it currently is. We're not changing that. So those are things that could come back into a discussion as we go down towards a more comprehensive proposal. There'll be a lot of things on the table for discussion that are outside of what's even been in the bill so far as we look at that. And I'm not going to predict where we might go with that, but I do notice that from our hearings across our process, there's a lot of interest in having a tax code in Ohio that is more centered on consumption-based tax than on income-based tax. So that could become an issue. Now, moving the sales tax rate down works the opposite direction to that. And I think that was done by the administration in an effort to try to address the regressivity of an expanded base. But more work is indicated there.